Welcome back to the Power Hour. Thank you for joining us. It is 8 minutes after the hour. We have the pleasure again today of talking to Dr. Joel Wallach. Dr. Wallach has been a biomedical research pioneer for 40 years in the field of veterinary medicine and also in the area of naturopathic medicine. He obtained a Bachelor of Science degree in agriculture, University of Missouri, along with animal husbandry focus. He got his doctorate in veterinary medicine from the University of Missouri. He did a postdoctoral fellowship at the Center for Biology of Natural Systems in Washington University, obtained a doctorate in naturopathic medicine from the College of Naturopathic Medicine in Portland, Oregon. He joins us here today as the founder of Longevity, along with his wife, Dr. Melan, an MD. And we are so thrilled to have him join us again today to help us through all these nutritional issues, if you will. Thank you, Dr. Wallach, for joining us on the Power Hour today.
Well, thank you, Joyce. It's really an honor to be with you again.
You are so kind, and we are so glad to have you join us. It seems like it's never, ever an end to the incredible information that you have. You know, talking about the basics of nutrition, a lot of people think, well, as long as you eat, you know, you have meat, you have your potatoes, you have your vegetables, you have your fruit, a fruit a day or something, that's okay. But nutrition is more than that, isn't it? And we're missing so much.
Well, you're exactly right, Joyce. Nutrition is actually much more than that. There's actually specific nutrients that we require just to live and just to maintain ourselves, to maximize our health potential, to maximize our longevity potential. We need 90 essential nutrients, which we call the 90 for life. It is 60 minerals, it's 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 essential amino acids, 3 essential fatty acids. And unfortunately, you can never... Well, I shouldn't say that. There's 20 cultures on Earth that by dumb luck get all this for where they live. But there are 20 cultures around the Earth. They're the long-lived cultures. They have 25 common threads, and about 5 of those common threads are that they get all of these 90 essential nutrients by dumb luck. They're illiterate. They have no doctors, no hospitals, no insurance. And by dumb luck, they get all this stuff. And when you look at them, you say, gosh, they're perfection. They have 40 times 100-year-olds we do. 40 times. They have 100-year-old per 250 of their population. We have 1 per 10,000. They live to be 90 on the average in a healthful way. We live to be 75 in a sickly way. It's because they get these 90 essential nutrients. And so most of these places are very small, and the 7 billion people on Earth can't go there and all live there. But we can take the information and we learn why they're so successful, and we can just do it. And we've done it in the agricultural industry. We've done it in the pet industry. We've done it in the laboratory animal industry. And I began, as you pointed out, Joyce, 40 years ago to do this for humans, and it works in people just like it does animals.
And we don't have these things that create the health within our bodies to even work with. I mean, in other words, the building blocks are missing, so we can't hope to eat enough lentils or eat enough garbanzo beans or whatever to make it all happen together. And so I know that you have created this drink or several drinks that are available for people to utilize. And I particularly really like them. I like the taste of them. I like utilizing them, and I feel better as a result of it. Now, we just had a testimony the other day from a lady named Eleanor. Incredible testimony. The woman had been basically bedridden from noon on every day. No energy. She's an engineer. She has no energy. She was not able to function. And as a result of her, of course, the psychological problems that come on top of that, just feeling like wanting to give up, well, she started taking the Tangy Tangerine on your advice, the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Her life changed. Her life totally changed. She said she walked to town twice. She had never done that. Walked to town twice in one day. Now, explain to me, and when I got and I've known Eleanor for a long time, so I was shocked. And we gave her, by the way, she was short on money, so she wasn't taking as much as is recommended. So we sent her 1 canister for the next 3 months because we want to see how good she can feel. And I would like to know from you, what do you think, not knowing anything about this, hypothetically, what happened to Eleanor when she started taking the Beyond Tangy Tangerine?
Okay, well, thank you for that great testimony, Joyce. And obviously, Eleanor is a very intelligent woman. She's got a degree in engineering, at least 2 degrees probably.
Mm-hmm.
And we, as I said earlier, we need these 90 essential nutrients just to live, just to move, just to sleep well, just to reproduce effectively without birth defects. These 90 essential nutrients are, in fact, perfect. That is what we need. We've been made to utilize them. Well, unfortunately, plants, in organically grown, for instance, wheat grass plant, or maybe a baked potato or corn or a carrot or beets or peas or whatever it is you're eating, only needs 3 minerals for the ability to make good seeds for the next generation, give the farmer the maximum yields in terms of tons of bushel per acre. Everything else the plant needs, it can get from the carbon dioxide in the air, the nitrogen in the air, and the sun's energy. Well, we can't do that. We require eating these things every day. And so what happens here is we depend on the plants to do this. Well, unfortunately, the plant only needs 3. We need 60 minerals. And so if you're eating a pretty good slice of organically grown bread, multigrain, baked with love by the pastor's wife in the church on Sunday, you could be 57 short because the plant doesn't need the other 57. You can't tell by looking at that whether they're in there or not. One of the greatest sins is people are told you can get all the selenium you need by eating 3 Brazil nuts a day. Well, that's not true because the Brazil nuts don't need selenium, and you can't tell by looking at it if it's in there. And you can kill yourself by not supplementing with selenium and eating Brazil nuts thinking you're getting some. So obviously she was missing some very important nutrients. The Beyond Tangy Tangerine has 245 nutrients. That's 130 vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. It does have 115 super juices. I mean, we're a big fan of super juices for the antioxidants to fend off free radicals, increase your risk of cancer, and plug your arteries, to give you arteriosclerosis, atherosclerosis. And so rather than having a blend of 3 or 4 or 5, which we have lots of products like that, we've got 500 products, but I love Beyond Tangy Tangerine because one serving gives you 115 of these super juices. 115, not 15, but 115, plus the 130 nutrients, which includes 88 of the essential 90 essential nutrients. The other 2 are the omega-3 essential fatty acids, which would come in our EFA pluses, which are fish oils that have the omega-3, 6s, and 9s. So to make her program perfect, she would have to add the EFA pluses to that. But you saw the benefits she got out of getting just 88 of the 90 essential nutrients, because most people don't get 3.
Well, what we're finding is that people are having many times a dramatic response to Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Now, when I started hearing about this first and Ted Anderson told me about it, I got to tell you, I thought, come on, Ted, you're really wanting me to sell this really badly. And so when I took it, though, and I started seeing other people getting a response from it, I was amazed. I mean, we had a meeting yesterday out in the Power Mall, and we were talking, everybody was talking about what their response was to Tangy Tangerine, and everybody is feeling something from it. So what is it doing? Is it plugging in those areas that we're missing, and all of a sudden, sort of, is it affecting the mitochondria of the cell? What does it do to give us energy, feeling of, it's almost like a feeling of hope, and I don't understand that.
Okay, well, exactly right. You've kind of touched on bits and pieces of it there when you talked about the mitochondria. There is sort of the energy factories in each cell in our body, regardless if it's a liver cell or an eye cell, a brain cell, kidney cell, bone cell. They all have mitochondria in there which convert raw materials, fats, sugars, carbohydrates, proteins into energy, and then store it in the body if it's not used immediately. And then, of course, it comes back into the mitochondria and is burned efficiently. That's the goal here. Well, all that needs these nutritional cofactors to happen. And you can be eating the best fuel in the world. You can be fit and out there training and running and doing everything well, avoiding some of the bad stuff like fried foods and processed meats with nitrates and nitrites in it, eliminating the oxidized oils in your life, such as cooking oils and canned fish packed in oils, that kind of stuff. And you're doing everything right, eating organic, and you can still be 90 essential nutrients short, and you're just going to not have any energy. And the biggest complaint people have Joyce, and when they go to a doctor for their annual physical, the doctor says, "Okay, Francis, I haven't seen you for a year now. Any complaints?" "Yeah, I just don't have any energy. I can't sleep.
Yes.
When I do sleep, I wake up, I'm still tired." And that's because they're missing these cofactors. It was very interesting when Linus Pauling received his first Nobel Prize, his first of 2 unshared Nobel Prizes. It was actually for doing research into the nutrition of genes. And, of course, medical doctors don't realize that even genes and chromosomes and enzymes require nutrition for themselves to work. You can't throw a handful of genes in a bucket of saline and say, "Okay, genes, do your thing." The genes need substrate to put together to make things, and they also need nutritional cofactors to function properly. Well, Linus Pauling got his first Nobel Prize for studying the nutrition of genes and chromosomes and enzymes. And in his acceptance speech, when he received his first Nobel Prize, one of the many great things he said was, you can trace every disease, every illness, and every sickness to a mineral deficiency because your genes won't work without mineral cofactors. And all the medical doctors just laughed at him. And, of course, they spent trillions of dollars over the last years looking at the genome and mapping out the human genome. And that came out, Bill Clinton signed that law, which the government paid billions, $100 billion mapping out the human genome. And you know how many diseases have been helped by that information, which came out about 10 years ago?
How
0.
many? Really?
0. Because the genes won't work without nutrients. And just mapping out the human genome is useless. And so my wife and I are working on another book here, which should come out sometime next year, called Epigenetics, the end of the genetic theory of disease transmission. Because you can have the best genes in the world. I mean, all your grandparents could live to be 102, 114, and you'll still be uncomfortable and die of 14 different diseases by the age of 28. If you don't have the mineral cofactors for the genes to work, for the mitochondria to work, your heart cells to work, your brain cells to work, your liver cells to work, you need all these raw materials every second of every minute of every hour of every day of every year.
Okay, we got to take this 4-minute break. We will be back. Welcome back to Power Hour. Thank you so very much for joining us. You could be anywhere, but you are at the Power Hour today. 24 minutes after the hour, and we have Dr. Joe Wallach joining us. The book, Dead Doctors Don't Lie. If you've never seen it, you're going to be surprised as to how much information is in there from a natural perspective as to what to do for whatever problem you might have. And we're going to go through some of those problems a little bit later and give you an opportunity also to ask questions of Dr. Wallach. I mean, he's got everything in here from Legionnaire's disease to meningoceal. I mean, it's incredible, ladies and gentlemen. So please call the Power Mall for the books. That's 877-817-9829. Or if you want information from our Power Hour support team, you call 855-252-TEAM. 855-252-TEAM. Now, I was telling you about Eleanor, who, she doesn't mind me talking about her because she, and by the way, we didn't ask for her testimony. She just sent it, and she was so pleased. But after that, people started attacking her. It can't work. It doesn't work. Dr. Wallach's created something that's not what he said. Why do people do that when we're sitting here going, wow, we feel so good, and then these attacks come? You must be used to this by now, though, aren't you, sir?
Well, sure. I've been dealing with this for over 40 years, Joyce. And basically, there's multiple reasons why people do this. Oftentimes, they're selling another product. Okay, so it's just simply competition things.
Okay.
They think they've got the greatest thing in the earth, and they have a single product, which is a single thing. They call them one-trick ponies, which you need 90, right? And so you have the very best vitamin C on earth, and they claim this vitamin C will cure everything. And, of course, it can't and won't. But, vitamin C is a good thing. It's one of the 90, and we love vitamin C, but it's one of the 90. It's kind of like trying to make a angel food cake recipe and just throwing the McCormick's vanilla extract into the baking pan, putting it in the oven at 425 degrees for a half hour and coming out, and all you got is some burnt McCormick's vanilla extract because you're missing the other 24 ingredients. Well, the same thing is true of the 90 here. You can have the very best vitamin C on earth, but it's not going to give you calcium or selenium or copper or ytterbium or praseodymium or europium, strontium, and all these other things we need. And so you get people who bank their health, and maybe they become a guru in vitamin C, and that's all they push, and they become an expert in it, and they just get offended when somebody has a more complete program. So oftentimes it's that simple. Another thing is that there are people who, because of computers now, they sit in their underwear at home, they're on disability, or they retired, they have nothing else to do, and they sit there and they become an expert on microwaves, and their whole life is dealing with the evils of the microwave. And so if you want to talk about the 90 essential nutrients, they say, well, that can't work. You can live to be 100 if you just don't microwave your food, silly things like that. And so there's all kinds of stuff. And then there are people who just like to be gotcha kind of people. And they believe in the medical system so much that they can't fathom in their little pea brains that a natural program that has all the known essential nutrients required by any vertebrate, doesn't matter if you're a hummingbird or a anaconda snake or an elephant or a monkey or a human being or a rat or a rabbit or a dog, you need these 90 essential nutrients. And so there's a mix of things, and there's no way, and some people have multiples of those, and they're really bad.
Well, I probably ought to open up the lines. If anybody wants to challenge, then the number is 855-99-JOYCE, 855-99-JOYCE. And let's take somebody that wants to challenge and give it your best shot, 855-99-JOYCE. I mean, that's not really the purpose of this program, but instead of doing it on the Internet, why don't you just come forward and be public about it, and let's talk about it.
I've actually offered one of these individuals who's one of these gotcha kind of guys, offered, I called him and said, hey, I hear you have some questions about me or my products. Why don't you let me be a guest on your show, and I'll be happy to answer any questions they have. And they said, well, we'll consider it. And then the next thing I know, they're blasting me all over the air. So, that's fine.
But that's an easier way to do it. That's a really nice
they
way.
just have to be careful. They have to be very careful what they say, because while we're not litigious, if they say something that's going to hurt some of our clients, or they're going to affect how we communicate, then we will have to, look into the possibility of legal action. So they have to speak truth. Now, people can have their opinions, that's fine, but they can't make false accusations which are harmful.
That's right. That's right. And I'm sure you're used to dealing with people like that. You probably had a couple of battles with the FDA. Am I correct?
Well, I've actually sued the FDA 8 times in federal court and prevailed. I've actually been attacked by state attorney generals because the medical associations in those states, I went to them and saying I'm defrauding the people of their state.
Whoa. Okay, we got a 3-minute break. We'll be right back with Dr. Joel Wallach. I'll tell you what. Welcome back to Power Hour. Thank you for joining us. It is 33 minutes after the hour. We've got so much to talk to Dr. Wallach about today. I mean, so much. We were talking about the Beyond Tangy Tangerine controversy and why people get so irate, Dr. Wallach, over the issue of nutrition is if you don't get any flack unless you're over the target. We know that. And you were telling me that sometimes people get so emotionally involved in this. You've actually had some problems as a result of this, haven't you, with audiences?
Yeah, you remember that old accounting firm, Arthur Anderson?
Sure.
Yeah, they were the accounting firm for Enron and that whole big multi-billion-dollar fiasco.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of their partners actually wanted my company when we first started, and he thought he had taken over my company. Well, I just slipped off to the side and started up another company, and he sent 3 skinheads out, hired 3 skinheads to come and actually blocked the entrance to our first meeting, which is in Santa Cruz, California. It was pouring down rain night, and nobody was coming into the room. And I said, boy, I see all the cars coming in the parking lot. Why? Maybe the front door's locked. So I got the guy who was hosting the meeting, who happened to be Clint Eastwood's driver. He was actually,
really?
The movie actor. It was Clint Eastwood's driver, and this guy's like 6'4", 240-pound kind of guy. And he and I go downstairs, and I say, well, the door's not locked. Who are these 3 guys? I said, who are you? And he said, well, we're shutting this meeting down. I said, well, no, you're not. And so the guy's name is Dio Roberts. I said, Dio, why don't you go call 911 and just say we need 5 squad cars because there's going to be a riot here.
Oh, wow.
And he looks at me and said, Dio, 5 squad cars now. So I tried to get the brochures out of this guy's hands because he's handing them out to people saying the meeting's canceled, to be notified when it's going to be coming up again. People are just turning around and leaving. So I grabbed this stuff away from him. He grabs me. I grab him. We're on the ground. We're fisticuffing it out. And his 2 buddies are kicking me. And they're all big guys. They're all over 200 pounds. I only weigh 160. So I knew that massive injury was imminent. And here comes the 5 squad cars. Dio had done his job. And as they're arresting these guys, they said, well, where are you guys from? They said, San Diego. They said, well, that's 800 miles south of here. Why are you here? He said, well, this guy, John Wilson, who's his partner, he's a partner in Arthur Anderson. He said Arthur Anderson and this John Wilson hired us, come up here and break up your meeting. So we sued them in federal court for racketeering, and we prevailed. And the money that we got, and actually a settlement out of that, started the longevity business.
Wow. Interesting, interesting. Well, you know, I went to all of my leaders that are customer care people that help people out, and I asked them, what are the questions you get most often that we could ask Dr. Wallach here on the program and just kind of eliminate a bunch of the questions that everybody asks. So I'd like to do that if you don't mind. I'd like to move into that.
Oh, please.
Since we didn't have anybody that wanted to challenge you, come on board. That's kind of disappointing after, you know, we led up to this thinking that they would, you know, want to really let you have it here, and we gave them the opportunity.
That's okay, because, you know, I always appreciate when people think they have one of these gotcha things. And again, like you say, we've been doing this for 40 years, and the product is actually certified organic. The basic mineral program is actually from a natural compost pile. It's been certified organic every year for 35 years, has 77 certified organic plant minerals in there. And this is unimpeachable. It's been certified organic by OMRI, which is the agency that certifies organic foods and things. So we're very proud of that. And so that's what we start out with. And it's analyzed, every batch is analyzed by Coors Beer, Coors Laboratories in Golden, Colorado. I mean, you got to trust Coors Beer, right?
Interesting. Okay, here's my question that we get the most on the ingredients. Please address strontium and mercury in the products.
Okay, well, you notice that it's strontium, not strontium-40.
Okay.
Strontium is an essential nutrient. It's actually required for bone health. It actually prevents spiral fractures. If you're deficient in strontium, you're more likely to get a spiral bone fracture in a tibia or a femur or a long bone in your arm. And so strontium is an essential nutrient. It's not strontium-40. Strontium-40 was given a bad name during the Cold War, and I was in the Air Force at that time dealing with the nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons. So I was doing the NBC stuff for the Air Force during the Cold War. And I was very familiar with strontium-40 or strontium-90, right? And then you had calcium-41 and iodine-40 and so forth. These are all nuclear or radioactive isotopes of the elemental metals. And so you can have something very good that can be made into something very dangerous by making it an atomic isotope or a nuclear isotope. And so, of course, we have no radioactivity in our products and so forth. And so strontium is an essential nutrient. Mercury is in the background of everything. It's everywhere. And, of course, this substance that we use as our basic mineral mix is, what should I say, it goes back to the beginning of the earth, whenever that was. You can argue about it biblically as, 5,000 years, and then you have the geologists who will say it's billions of years old. But this stuff goes way back. It's found under the 25-foot thick marine limestone. We know this because it has marine animal and marine plant fossils in this limestone. This is at 3,000 feet elevation, so it gets no contamination from the air, it gets no contamination from underground aquifers. And again, it's been certified organic every year for 35 years, even with parts per billion of some mercury in there, which is far less than the background that you'll find in the place where you're getting organically grown sweet potatoes here in America. And so while there is some in there, we're very honest. We have Coors Beer identify everything you can find in there down to 1 part per trillion. And, of course, the mercury is thousands of parts per billion lower than the minimum standard for the EPA and for the EFA every age you can think of. You never hear them say you got to be arsenic-free. You never have to be cadmium-free or mercury-free. It's just got to be below a certain line. Well, we're way, way, way below those lines.
Okay.
You can go to any grocery store, pick out anything you want, and you'll find more mercury, more strontium. Well, you won't find more strontium, but you will find more mercury and lead and arsenic in food you find in the grocery store, even in the organic aisle, than you will in our stuff.
Okay, good answer. And then one gentleman wanted to know if there's cesium chloride in anything. He was wanting to find cesium chloride for prostate cancer, cesium chloride being beneficial for a lot of the sarcomas and bone cancers.
Yes, I'm very familiar with cesium, and we do have cesium in there. Cesium is an essential nutrient for bone health and also supports your immune system. And so there is cesium in there, but again, not the radioactive isotope. And so there's a big difference. And, of course, there's radioactive isotopes for every metal and every element. And so we don't have the radioactive isotopes in there. So
do you recall which products cesium chloride would be in?
Well, it's in the plant minerals, which is in the Tangy Tangerine. Each serving has 300 milligrams total of the plant minerals found in our plant minerals. In the plant minerals, this stuff is just the greatest stuff on earth. It has the 77 certified organic plant minerals. This is the core of everything we do.
Okay.
And each serving has 300 milligrams of that in it. When you take an ounce of the minerals, the liquid minerals, or the capsule that has been dehydrated, you're getting 600 milligrams of these minerals. And then, of course, we have a list. We show you how many parts per million or how many milligrams or micrograms are each one.
Okay. And then the next often asked question is going to be on weight loss, wanting you to explain the weight loss program that you have, the sweeties, and the other items.
Okay, well, weight loss is very interesting to me. You know, having a degree in agriculture, where everything we want to do is have a very efficient weight gain in animals for prime beef and perfect rack of lamb and a perfect pork chop and perfect chicken breast and that sort of stuff. And so we know a lot about weight loss, weight gain. We know how to create certain percentages of fat on the surface of the meat, marbled in the meat, and so forth. We have all that technology. We know how to do that. And so what I did was take this information and apply it to what we do in humans. Now, you know, Joyce, we're the #1 obese nation in the world. Mm-hmm. Even though we spend more money for health care than all the nations of the world combined each year, not more than any nation, more than all nations combined, we spend more money for health care. Yet the only health division and the only health category we're #1 in is obesity. And why is that? Well, that's because the medical theory, the government's theory on what constitutes weight loss is wrong. It's 100% wrong. They do nothing right when it comes to weight loss. Their theory is if you eat more carbohydrates, more whole grains, which has 4.5 calories per gram, you're going to do a better job of losing weight than if you take in saturated fats that have 9 calories per gram, right? Mm-hmm. That's just simple math. 9 calories per gram versus 4.5 calories per gram. You take in more carbohydrates, it's half the calories. Well, that's wrong because we're not ovens. We don't burn fuel like you do in an oven. If it was burning in the oven, that's correct, but not in a living organism. What happens is when you eat fat, let's say you eat a quarter of a stick of butter, you might get 800 calories, and you'll be satiated all day. You eat a quarter of a stick of butter, you're not going to be hungry all day. You'll get 800 calories. Mm-hmm. Okay? Now, you eat a whole grain, multigrain, organically grown multigrain bun, and then you add some blueberries to it, organic blueberries. Half hour later, your blood sugar is up, your insulin knocks it down, you get hungry again. So you eat another one of those muffins or buns, and sugar goes up, insulin knocks it down, you get hungry again, and then it's lunchtime, so you go to one of these pasta restaurants and you have 3 servings of pasta and your blood sugar goes up, knocks it down, you're hungry, you have to have dessert at the end of that, and then about 2 hours later you're hungry again, and so you have a bag of chips, and then 2 hours later it's dinner time and you eat 3 baked potatoes because you're starving, and then before bed while you're watching TV you're eating chips and dips. So you've had 3,500 calories doing that. Okay?
Yes.
And so just that alone is wrong. Now, the thing that drives people to have the munchies, you know the term the munchies. Mm-hmm. In animals, the munchies are called cribbing or pica. When you have, little pet animals that are eating metal things or little kids, there's a little gal by the name of Natalie Hayhurst. She became famous a couple of months ago from Terre Haute, Indiana. She's light bulbs. And she has the same problem. She's only 3 years old, but she has the same problem pregnant women have. Pregnant women have the munchies and cravings because the embryo is stealing minerals from them faster than the embryo, than she's taking them in. Same way with little Natalie, she's minerally deficient. In horses, we call this cribbing, where they chew on the fence. Well, it's socially unacceptable for human beings to chew on their neighbor's furniture when you're visiting them, so they give you snack foods. And so this is why we gain weight when you're minerally deficient. So being overweight and obese is a mineral deficiency, and Malan and I wrote a book called Hell's Kitchen where we describe this whole process. And our weight loss program consists of two things. Number one, you got to get your 90 essential nutrients appropriate for your body weight. And this will satiate people without trying. They'll usually lose 5 to 10 pounds within a month just starting on the 90 essential nutrients appropriate for body weight without even thinking about it. What happened there was they're using energy more efficiently, their blood sugar is more stable, and so they'll lose 5 to 10 pounds without even trying. Well, then, if you need to lose 25, 50, 75, 100 pounds or more, we'd have you use what we call the Slender FX weight management system, which is a sugar-free, 80-calorie meal replacer. You can make it into an ice cream, sugar-free ice cream, by throwing eggs in it and putting it into a freezer. It also has some accelerators, including sweeties in it to help you lose weight. But the cherry on the parfait, Joyce, is what we call ASAP, as slim as possible, as soon as possible. You'll lose anywhere from a half a pound to a pound a day. We get people in 3 months' time, they lose 100 pounds. In 2 months' time, they'll lose 57 pounds. I've got one gal. She's been with us for 8 years, and her husband called her the chunky monkey. She's 5'2", weighed 157 pounds, and she'd been taking the 90 essential nutrients. She lost 10, 15 pounds, and that's where it kind of stopped. And then she threw in the ASAP, and she lost 49 pounds in 2 months. Now she weighs 108 pounds, and her husband doesn't call her the chunky monkey anymore.
Now, how does the ASAP work? We've had a lot of people ask that.
Mm-hmm. Well, the ASAP is a HCG type of system, the human chorionic gonadotrophic hormone system, but it's not the hormone, which is a prescription. And so what we did was put together what we call stacked amino acids. We did this before with our HGH, which makes the raw materials for the pituitary to make all of its hormones. And so we're very experienced with stacked amino acids as a precursor to non-steroidal hormones. And so we're very experienced with the HGH, and so we came up with the ASAP, which are the raw materials for your body to make HCG. And so the HCG actually does two things. Number one, it does dampen down your appetite, but more importantly, it redirects your metabolism to preferentially burn fat. And you see people who have these bellies. They got bread bellies, they got grain bellies. Well, I don't drink beer. Why do I have this beer belly? Well, that's because following the doctor's instructions, following the government's instructions, following the nutritionists and dietitians' instructions, eating more whole grains, you're going to become a diabetic, and you're going to have this big bushel basket hanging over your belt called a bread belly or a grain belly. And beer is just liquid bread, as Germans know, made with the same stuff you make bread from. And that's why you get a grain belly, bread belly, or beer belly, regardless if you're drinking or eating your grain. And so this is just wonderful in redirecting your metabolism to preferentially burn this belly fat, and your belly flattens up very quickly. And people sometimes will lose 50 inches, and they've only lost 15 pounds, but they'll lose 50 inches because it's preferentially coming from their belly area.
So how does this, what does the ASAP do? Because, everyone wants to know, how does it work? What is it? Is there any way to explain what it does? Yes.
Well, again, the sort of big picture is that it redirects your body to preferentially pull fat out of storage to burn for fuel rather than sugar, which is the easy thing. This is why people have a struggle when they're trying to lose weight. They cut their calories, by eating on a salad plate rather than a dinner plate, so you're cutting your calories in half, and you will lose weight, but they lose muscle mass because it's easier for the body to burn protein and sugar than it is to burn fat. It takes a little more effort to burn fat. And because it's got to take it out of the fat stores, send it to your liver. The liver then turns the fat into sugar, which then goes back to the cells to be burned for fuel. So it's a bigger process. And the body it tries to be very efficient and doesn't like to do that. So when your body is calling for fuel, for energy, first it's going to burn sugar. It can burn carbohydrates, and then called glycogen. We call that animal starch. Glycogen is actually a starch that your body stores, And that'll be the first thing your body uses for fuel. When you run out of sugar in your bloodstream, you run out of this glycogen, which your liver turns back into sugar floating around your bloodstream. When you run out of that, there's only so much stored in your body. When you run out of that, then your body goes to protein. And when you run out of that, you've lost all your muscle mass, you're feeling weak, then it goes to the fat. And you can lose 50 pounds and still have the same amount of fat on you had when you started because you're burning everything else first. Well, the HCG preferentially guides your body to extract the energy from fat as opposed to sugar, carbohydrates, protein. So it goes for the fat first. Gets you into that pathway. Gets your liver into the burn the fat first pathway.
All right, so it does not contain, though, the hormone, because a lot of people say they don't want the hormone.
No, it doesn't contain the hormones. It's just read the label. It's just amino acids that the body makes the hormones from. So you're making your own, and that makes it just fine because your body will only make what it needs. Okay,
we'll be right back after this 3-minute break. We're going to talk about gluten and multiple sclerosis, muscular dystrophy after this break with Dr. Joel Wallach. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Power Hour. Thank you for joining us. Such good information coming from Dr. Wallach today, and we got a lot of questions from you, from the people that take the phone calls, and those people are the Power Hour team. You can reach them at 855-252-TEAM, 855-252-TEAM. Now, the purpose of the Power Hour team is customer support. Now, not like you would get by calling the company and finding out where your package is. That's not what they're for. They're there to help you if you have any questions about website, what to do, how to order, how to proceed in the business, because that's what they're doing, is finding the leaders out there that want to proceed. And we have, of course, our incredible lady that joined us, Shelley. We had letters from all the people that wanted to be leaders that maybe didn't have the money to get started, and Shelley was our choice. Incredible lady. You all got to see the picture of her and her family in the email blast, along with the chicken she was holding, and that was so cool. And the husband with the pitchfork. I thought that was so great. So she's getting started, and she's found out that we're telling her the truth. We're willing to help everybody that wants to get going. Go to powerhourteam.com or 855-252-TEAM. Question going back to Tangy Tangerine. Some people say that they don't want to eat for hours after drinking it, and why is it not sold as a weight loss product? And there are people that are afraid of taking it because they're afraid they'll lose weight.
Well, it's not really meant to be a weight loss product. Beyond Tangy Tangerine is meant to be a almost complete supplement program that's very high in antioxidants. To make it complete, you need to add the EFA pluses, which are the fish oils, so the omega-3, 6s, and 9s. You can't mix the fish oils in with all those minerals, otherwise it turns into soap, like Grandma's lye soap. When you put lard and wood ashes together, you get soap, and so we have to keep them separate. So those two products, the Beyond Tangy Tangerine and the EFA pluses, would give you all 90 essential nutrients. The Beyond Tangy Tangerine has 88 of the 90 essential nutrients, plus it has another 50 vitamins, amino acids, and minerals, plus it has 115 super juices in it. Now, just that alone, remember I told you that when people take the 90 essential nutrients, when they'll lose 5 to 10 pounds just because everything's working more efficiently. They're not taking in more calories than they really need. It's an unconscious thing. You start taking smaller portions because you're tired of throwing away food, and you don't even think about it. It's an unconscious thing. You'll lose 5 to 10 pounds just because you're working more efficiently. It's just like if you're not burning gasoline efficiently, you get a lot of black smoke coming out of the tailpipe. Same kind of concept. And so it's not meant to be a weight loss product. What it is meant to provide with the EFA Plus is a complete, all the 90 essential nutrients plus the antioxidants, and there's no other way to do that in the world. We've actually come up with this based on $100 billion worth of research by agricultural universities, U.S. Department of Agriculture, on what constitutes all the essential nutrients, what we need to maximize our genetic potentials for health and our genetic potential for longevity. Just because you have good genes don't mean you're going to live to be 115 like Grandma did. Grandma lived out in the boonies, and threw her wood ashes, which contain 40, 50, 60, 70 minerals in it, into her garden. She ate her okra and sweet potatoes, got her minerals in that fashion, and you're getting organically grown bread from wheat that grew in a 10,000-acre field, which only had NPK put on it, and it might have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 minerals in it, and so you're not going to, you might live to be 48. What happened? You just had the same genes. Well, you didn't have all the raw materials you needed to fulfill your genetic potential. There's only a potential. On the other hand,
well, I'm sorry. We got to go to this break. We got a 1 minute, 10-second break coming at us. But can we pretty much say, though, to these people that you will only lose weight if you need to lose weight on Tangy Tangerine? Is that correct?
Exactly. That is correct.
All right, we'll be back after this 1 minute, 10-second break with more questions. And Dr. Wallach has agreed to stay over. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Another hour with Dr. Wallach. This is Joyce Riley. Welcome back to Power Hour. Thanks for joining us. Caring about your world, treating your body like a temple, not a dumpster. That's right. We have Dr. Joel Wallach joining us today. He is a veterinarian and a naturopath. What a cool combination for us. He has such a good understanding and background in medicine. His wife happens to be a physician, Dr. Malon. They've written a book called Dead Doctors Don't Lie. There's a number of books that he's written, and call the Power Hour to get the books. 877-817-9829. 877-817-9829, or go to the Power Mall to get the books. To talk to the team members, you call 855-252-TEAM. 855-252-TEAM. Now, for those of you who say, why are you spending so much time on this? I'll tell you why. Because people are having such amazing responses, feeling better, more energy, doing things they never thought they would do. And I'd like to have Sue come over here if she could. She's over in the Power Mall, and tell you her testimony on what happened when she used OsteoFX. Incredible. And you know, when you hear these things and you see people saying, wow, I don't want to run out of this, well, there's a reason. And Dr. Wallach is joining us today. And I wanted to get to the subject of gluten, Dr. Wallach, because that's huge. I mean, we didn't hear much about it in the past. Talk to us about gluten and gluten-free products.
Sure. Well, you're exactly right. Historically, gluten has not been a big problem. Every once in a while, somebody would get celiac disease, and of course, it could be devastating, particularly to children. And that was our first sort of inkling that there was a problem coming on board. Gluten, of course, is a general category of proteins you find in small grains, like wheat, barley, rye, and oats. Those 4 grains particularly have gluten in them. And there's just a couple amino acids apart between the glutens between wheat, barley, rye, and oats, and so because they're cousin grains, if you will, they're very closely related. And as a result, when one tends to be sensitive to the gluten from wheat, invariably you're going to be sensitive to the gluten from barley, rye, and oats also. So you have to give them all up. Now, when you are intolerant of gluten and require a gluten-free diet, you're not allergic to wheat. A lot of people will ask their doctor, well, you know, I think I have a gluten problem. And so they'll test you for wheat allergy and say, no, you're okay. Don't worry about it. Your test for wheat allergy is negative. Go ahead, eat all you want, and then they die. Because when you have a gluten intolerance, it's not actually an allergy. Just like when people get poison ivy rubbed all over them, that's not an allergic reaction. That's a contact dermatitis as an intolerance of the chemicals that are in the juices from the poison ivy. Well, when you have a gluten intolerance, when you eat gluten from wheat, barley, rye, and oats, Joyce, your intestines look like you've been eating poison ivy for salad. They are swollen. They are cracked. They're bleeding. They have scabs all over them. And it's a progressive thing. It gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And it starts out with constipation, alternating with diarrhea. Little babies, they're colicky. They get the belly pain. When you're 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, you get an appendicitis. They'll take your appendix out. You get diverticulitis. You get irritable bowel syndrome, inflammatory bowel disease. You get ulcerative colitis. You get blood and mucus in your bowel movements. And then you get Crohn's disease, and doctors begin to cut your intestines out. And really, with all those diseases, Joyce, all you have to do is get on a gluten-free diet, and it all goes away. Not surgery or steroids or anything. Now, it might take you 90 days for it to go away if you have Crohn's disease. If you have celiac disease, you're like 6 years old. It might just take you 2 weeks to go away. And this is a wonderful thing just to realize that that this is a very simple thing. You don't need a doctor to even deal with it. We actually came out with a CD, which I know on your Power Mole you'll be able to make available, the CD called Serial Killers. And this CD goes into all the manifestations and variations of a gluten intolerance. As a gluten intolerance, you get a contact enteritis, which means a contact inflammation of your intestines when you eat wheat, barley, rye, and oats. Now, Mayo Clinic is a very famous clinic out of Minnesota, Rochester, Minnesota, said in 2009, they did a big study on it because they were seeing so many people with gluten intolerance. They said 30% of Americans have gluten intolerance. And in enlightened areas around the universities where you have all these students who are trying to eat whole grains and, you know, they can feed 50 people with a grain rather than feeding one cow, that kind of attitude.
Okay, we got to stop. Unfortunately, we got a break, 3-minute break. We'll come back with Dr. Wallach. Remember where we are on that one because I know people are going to hear. And are the products gluten-free? We'll find out after this 3-minute break. Stay tuned to the Power Hour. This is Joyce Riley with Dr. Wallach. Welcome back to the Power Hour. Thank you for joining us. 8 minutes after the hour. You are in the right place. Dr. Joel Wallach is joining us today, and we're so glad to have him this hour to stay with us. Just a real quick testimony here from Erin. She says, I finally gained some weight. Gee, thanks to menopause. Oh, we're so happy for you. And I don't want to lose it, she says. I make sure I drink my Tangy in the late morning so that I have hunger for dinner. Started exercising again just to tone up. Thank you, Tangy. Have the energy to do it. Yes, I have gone up 2 pant sizes, and she is so excited. Well, that's not something you hear very often. Going back to Dr. Wallach. Dr. Wallach, on the subject that we were talking about on the gluten-free, are your products gluten-free, or are there certain people that should avoid certain products if they are trying to keep a gluten-free diet?
We actually have 500 products now, Joyce, because we've acquired 4 more companies. We're growing very rapidly. Everybody wants to be part of our family now, or what we call our family of companies. We're very, very excited about this because we're able to select the finest of all companies out there, and they might not be able to make it just because of lack of financing or something, but they have great products. And out of the 500 products, I think we have 3 of them that have gluten in it. And so 497 of them are gluten-free. And you still must remember that 70% of Americans can tolerate gluten quite well. And so it's 30% that must be very wary of it. And so the 3 products that we have gluten in, is displayed very boldly right on the front. We say contains gliadin or gluten, and so you just have to read the labels.
Okay.
One of them is one of our very popular energy drinks. And, again, 3 people out of 10 in America can't use that one product.
And are you talking about Rebound FX?
No. I'm actually talking about Pollen Burst.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's one of our greatest products. It has SOD in it. Superoxide dismutase is one of the greatest facilitators of getting oxygen and energy into cells, and also kind of fends off terrible, bad free radical oxidative damage. But it's actually made from gluten, from one fraction of gluten called gliadin. And so some people will get kind of a skin rash on the outside when they drink it, which tells you they're getting an intestinal rash on the inside. So if you are gluten intolerant, you don't want to be drinking the Pollen Burst. But Pollen Burst is a great product. It was the energy drink of the Flying Finns during 1972, 1976 Olympics. It went through Upjohn Pharmaceuticals. It went through Pfizer, actually through our Prohoba International company, which we acquired, I don't know, about 5-6 years ago. We love that product. It's one of our great best-selling products, but people who are sensitive to gluten can't use it.
Okay. And then the question on EFAs. A lot of people that are vegetarians or vegans want to know what the alternate would be to EFAs, essential fatty acids. And by the way, just to remind everybody that your 90 for Life package or the Healthy Start package is the one that the majority of people start out with, the Beyond Tangy Tangerine and with the EFAs.
And the OsteoFX Plus.
And the OsteoFX Plus, yes. And that covers all your baseline things that you need. But what about a vegan or vegetarian?
Okay, somebody who's a vegan, a vegetarian, or maybe somebody who can't eat fish because of religious reasons or they're allergic to fish. We do have what we call women's omega. And it's actually made from evening primrose oil, which is a great seed oil, very rich in omega-3s, very good ratio of omega-3s, 6s, and 9s. And so we sell an enormous amount of that for people who just don't want even traces of fish oil. So it's called the Woman's Omega.
Okay.
Okay.
All righty.
Yep.
Now, what about the Parkinson's, MD, and MS, the neurological disorders? Any particular thing they should start with on that?
Sure. Well, muscular dystrophy, MD's a separate deal. Here, we'll talk about that in a minute if you wish. But Parkinson's disease, MS, multiple sclerosis, and Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, those three diseases are very closely related. The cause is the same, the damage is the same, but it's just by random chance which parts of the brain are afflicted. Now, I've seen people with all three diseases. I've seen people with all three of those diseases, Parkinson's disease, MS, Lou Gehrig's disease, and all four of the dementias, vascular dementia, Korsakoff syndrome, Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, and Alzheimer's disease. I've seen people with all seven. And so it's not too hard to grasp that would happen because the damage is caused by the same problems. The type of damage is the same. It's just random chance what parts of the brains are damaged. Now, let's look first at Parkinson's disease, MS, multiple sclerosis, Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS. These diseases are damage to specific areas of the brain, and it used to be very difficult to diagnose MS before they came out with CAT scans and MRIs and ultrasounds. Now just one MRI, one CAT scan, one ultrasound, you can detect MS instantly. It's a very simple disease. A 3-year-old can diagnose it. Once you see one of those, it looks like you've got lima beans scattered through your brain. These are free radical damages, actually three-dimensional liver spots in your brain. And the reason why MS was so difficult to diagnose in the old days was it could start when you had the lesions first in the back of your brain. You get vision problems, and on the side of your brain you get motor problems, and on the underside or the middle of your brain you get hormonal problems and so forth. And so it was very difficult to pinpoint MS. Well, now just one CAT scan, one MRI, one ultrasound to the head, you can see that instantly. You can pick it up. And so these are very easy to deal with. So what I like to do is put people on the 90 for life, the Healthy Start Pack per body weight. There's one Healthy Start Pack per 100 pounds of body weight. And then I would give them our Ultimate Selenium, again, to fend off free radical damage to the myelin, the fatty insulation of the brain, which makes up 75% of your brain weight. I would also throw in the de-stress capsules, which have mega doses of the nutrients, primarily vitamins, that are necessary to get energy into the brain in proper amounts from proper sources, both fats and carbohydrates and sugars. And then they have to eat anywhere from 6 to 12 eggs a day, depending on their body weight. If they're 250 pounds, they'd have them eat 15, 20 eggs a day. This is to rebuild the myelin in the brain. And it works every time. Now, we get people who are terminal with Parkinson's disease. 3 months later, they're perfectly normal. Same way with MS, Lou Gehrig's disease. That's the first one I ran into back, this has got to be 20 years ago in Lansing, Michigan. A couple who were in their 90s brought their 58-year-old son who's unconscious in one of these horizontal wheelchairs with an IV drip on this thing, and I thought it was Benny Hinn. He was bringing him up the aisle in the middle of my lecture saying he's got Lou Gehrig's disease, can I help him? Told him what to do, and 3 months later he was perfectly normal.
Wow.
And so I said, gosh, this actually worked. And so I started really refining it. And then people began bringing me MS patients, Lou Gehrig's patients, and ALS patients, Parkinson's patients. These are all very easily reversed.
Okay, that is outstanding news. I got a fax from Brooke here. Brooke is the one that wants to challenge or ask some questions regarding some of the issues, and so with the minerals. And so I'd like to have you call Brooke. John, make sure that he has a line open. If you would take a call from Brooke, I want to put him to the front of the line because I don't want to ask all these questions myself because he knows them better than I. Okay, and now the question of aspartic acid and glutamic acid in the items. The reason for that?
Well, these all have a place in metabolism. These all have a place in routing energy. These all have a place in, what should I say, in supporting your immune system. And so these things are absolutely imperative, especially when you're dealing with diseases like diabetes and so on. And so they have to be in there. These are not abnormal. These are actually natural substances. They're supposed to be in our bodies. Mm-hmm. They're not essential nutrients, but your body will make them when you have enough of the essential nutrients. And people actually sell these things as supplements, but I like better to include them in a complete supplement program where your body will make enough of its own where you don't need to supplement those kinds of things.
Okay. Then we have a question on sleep. What to do for sleep? What is in the sleepies, or why would the sleepies possibly help them?
Okay, well, first of all, sleep apnea is a physician-caused disease. It's one of those physician-caused diseases. Sleep apnea is actually a normal sleep behavior. Everybody, watch a baby sleep, Joyce. Watch a dog sleep. Watch an elephant sleep. Watch a horse sleep. They will breathe for about 30 minutes, and then they'll stop breathing. Now, what happens is if they're laying motionless, they don't produce a lot of carbon dioxide like they would when they're running or physically active. And as you're breathing when you sleep, you're blowing off the carbon dioxide. And when the carbon dioxide goes below a certain line, you stop breathing. And as it slowly builds up again within a minute or so, and it gets above that line, you take a deep breath and you start breathing again.
Okay.
Well, sometime about 10 years ago, some enterprising doctor asked a patient who came in for a physical, "Hey, how's it going? Anything going on? Haven't seen you in a year?" "Well, I don't know. My wife said I stopped breathing several times." Well, I was sleeping, and she was afraid that I was going to die because I stopped breathing for, it seemed to her like a half hour, but really just a minute or so. And she got scared. And so 3 days later, he gets another one like that, another one a couple of weeks later. So he says, "Man, I got a real thing going here." So what he does is he says, "Okay, I'm going to do surgery on your soft palate. I'm going to give you a prescription of a new drug I'm going to invent called Ambien. I'm going to get you into a sleep lab and confirm to you that you stop breathing every half hour." So, well, that's a normal behavior. 100% of the people who are sent to sleep labs for diagnostics are going to found to have sleep apnea because it's a normal behavior. Then they invented the CPAP machine. So you get to sleep with Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Oh, that's romantic, right? And then, so they come up with milking a person's insurance policy like an ATM machine for a normal behavior. This is actually insurance fraud, and every doctor who diagnoses a patient with sleep apnea should be put in jail for a federal crime.
Wow.
Insurance fraud.
We'll be back after. Okay, after these messages. 4-minute break. Stay tuned to the Power Hour with Dr. Wallach. He's doing my job. We'll be right back. This is Joyce Riley. Welcome back to Power Hour. Thank you for joining us today. It is 24 minutes after the hour. We do have Dr. Wallach join us today for 2 hours. It's so nice to have him join us so we can ask these questions. Got a lot more to ask, and we will be asking questions on eyes, how to improve eye health. But we have, first of all, Brooke on the line. And Brooke wanted to ask some more specific questions regarding the minerals. So come on, Brooke, let's go. And what would you like to ask Dr. Wallach, please?
Well, what I'd like to ask, first I'd like to thank you, Dr. Wallach, for all the great work you do. You and Dr. Fuchs and Dr. Glidden have changed my life and others for the better, and I really appreciate it very much.
Wonderful.
Thanks for the kind
questions
words.
I had, thank you, sir. The questions that I had on the Tangy Tangerine in particular, a lot of other people are asking the questions. You know, it's on the label that it contains lead and barium and arsenic, and supposedly these are in colloidal form. But how can we prove that these are in colloidal form?
Oh, well, they're in colloidal form for this reason. This is, you really should get the book. If you're interested in that kind of question, I'd have you get the book called Rare Earths Forbidden Cures. And again, you can get that from the Power Mall. I give the Power Mall a call. You can get the book called Rare Earths Forbidden Cures. Colloid is where you have angstrom-sized molecules in suspension. They're all the same charge, so Brownian movement, they repel each other and they keep each other in suspension. And this is one of those things that were discovered by the Russians back in, like the early 1900s. And they distinguish a colloid suspension from a ionic solution. When you take, say, a quart of seawater, you can only get a maximum of 985 milligrams in solution. There's only so much room in between the water molecules, and that's all you can get in there. If you want to supersaturate it, you can get 1,500 milligrams in a quart of water. You have to heat it and boil it, and you can keep adding sugar or salt or whatever you want to add to it. You'll get up to 1,500 milligrams. When it cools down to room temperature, it goes back down to 985 milligrams, and everything else drops out in the salt crystals. When you have a quart of our colloidal minerals, has 19,000 milligrams per quart, 20 times. Just about 20 times the amount of minerals in suspension than as you have in solution. And by this Brownian movement, they're all the same negative charge. They keep each other in suspension, and their angstrom size, actually in some cases, they're alloys. There are 2 or 3 of these metals have combined with each other in little combinations, and it's one of those miracle things. And the difference between a colloid and a solution is discussed very nicely. Now, what you can do is simmer at low heat, simmer off the water, and you're going to get 19,000 milligrams of powder in there. When you simmer off the water, and then you simmer off the water from a quart of seawater, you're going to get 985 milligrams.
Okay, but I mean, I don't understand what this. I think his question is, how do you prove? At least that was what was in his email.
Oh, okay.
How do you prove they're colloidal?
Okay, that's very good. What you can do is you can take our plant minerals and get one of these columns, clear glass cylinder tubes, and fill it up, get in a dark room, and take a laser. And let's say the laser goes in on one side of this column filled with our plant minerals, and it's like 5 millimeters in diameter. It'll come out 12 millimeters in diameter on the other side, because there's refraction. Even though it looks clear, it looks perfectly clear, there's nothing you can see, there's refraction from these minerals in suspension in there. Where you take a ionic solution and you put that 5 millimeter laser in on one side of that cylinder, it comes out 5 millimeters on the other side again. So there's no refraction because it's actually...
okay, well, that's kind of a little bit more complicated. Maybe you need to get that book, Brooke. What else would you like to ask Dr. Wallach?
That's called the Tyndall effect, by the way.
Okay.
I guess that was it. So you don't have to have a scanning electron microscope to show that these are in colloidal form.
No.
And how do we know that they're always consistently? I mean, well, I guess my next question is, do the minerals still come from the T.J. Clark mine, or?
No. Absolutely not. Never did.
Never did before, huh?
Never did.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't come up to our standards in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
They don't even like to emit those words. They never did. They never came from that place. It's ugly. You would not want to go there and look at their facilities, okay?
And that, therein we get the response and the answer. So if you have any questions or comments for Dr. Wallach, best way to do it is ask him, and we will make sure he gets the question. Thank you very much, Brooke, for the phone call. And let me go quickly to Sue, because Sue is over here from the Power Mall, and she has had an amazing response to OsteoFX. And Sue, what happened? Oh, right. Good choice. Good choice. Yeah, we had a host that knew what was going on here. All right, we'll be back after this 3-minute break, and Sue will get to tell you what happened when she used OsteoFX. Pretty amazing. We'll be right back with Dr. Wallach, and we'll take your phone calls at 855-99-JOYCE, 855. Welcome back to Power Hour. 33 minutes after the hour. You're in the right place today. And we're talking to Dr. Joel Wallach and the book, Dead Doctors Don't Lie, Rare Earth. We'll have that book at the Power Hour for you. Please call us at 877-817-9829. Remember, we got the book Cure Tooth Decay, and that's all about, it's natural treatment by a holistic dentist. That's a really cool book available at the Power Mall. We're talking to Dr. Wallach today. Lots of questions. However, I want to get to the question or the testimony from Sue, because Sue, who works in stands all day long in the shipping department, shipping those incredible products, which you all get, that there's never a problem, unless the UPS truck or airplane runs over it.
Yeah.
We don't have any problems. Anyway, Sue, what happened when you started using, what was your problem that you started using OsteoFX, or did you just do it because the doctor told you to do it?
Well, I've had problems with my knees. I had 3 arthroscopic surgeries that removed all the cartilage in my left knee, so I had a lot of problems with pain and swelling on a regular basis. Days I'd go home, I'd be almost crippled, could hardly walk. And the interesting thing is I started taking the OsteoFX because Dr. Joel said, try that with the glucogel. So I thought, okay, fine. So I started doing that, the glucogel twice a day, the OsteoFX every morning with my Tangy Tangerine and the EFA, and I stopped having swelling and pain. I have virtually no pain at all. And the funny thing is I had damaged my shoulders wrestling with a horse a few years ago, and that's gone away as well.
Now that's amazing. Okay, OsteoFX and the
glucogel.
Glucogel, which I happen to use the liquid glucogel. You use the capsules. What happened? Now you've got a woman who's had 3 arthroscopic surgeries, and she was able to get benefit. What happened, Dr. Wallach, to make that better?
Actually do this for professional athletes, Olympic athletes, very famous entertainers like Willie Nelson couldn't play the guitar without this stuff, right? And,
really?
Wow. Yeah. Professional basketball players, football players, boxers, very famous political people, which I can't name. And this is actually the basic raw material for your cartilage, ligaments, tendons, connective tissue, disc between your vertebrae to maintain itself. These tissues are not poured concrete. They tend to want to go away with use. And I find it amusing that doctors will do surgery on you and not give you the raw materials to repair itself. They can do a good job of removing the cartilage, but I'll regrow the cartilage with this program because it's the raw materials for the body to maintain itself. And it doesn't take long. Usually 6 to 9 weeks, you're rebuilt, and you actually see when you have bone-to-bone arthritis, you go get an x-ray of that knee after 6 weeks. We've got 1/8 of an inch of cartilage back in there. The cartilage regrew, even though doctors say it's impossible. We do this every day, and we do it literally thousands of times a day across this great nation. We're in 50 countries as a result of this one thing, bone-to-bone arthritis, back problems. Nobody needs back surgery. Nobody needs knee replacement, hip replacement surgeries, shoulder replacements, rotator cuff problems, ankle problems, toe problems, finger problems. Do not get joint replacement surgeries. Give us 90 days. And the odds are you won't need the surgery because it will rebuild the tissues.
And what do you need to take then? What would you recommend? If a person has a severe problem and they want to give you 90 days, what would you have them do?
Okay, I would have them take the Healthy Start Pack for 100 pounds of body weight. So if they weigh 150 to 200 pounds, I'd have them take 2 Healthy Start Packs per month. That's 1 ounce of the OsteoFX Plus at breakfast and dinner, 2 scoops of the Beyond Tangy Tangerine NutriCrystals at breakfast and dinner, 3 of the EFA Plus at breakfast and dinner. And then the secret sauce, too, and I can legally say to support and promote maintenance and repair of cartilage, ligaments, tendons, connective tissue, disc between the vertebrae, bone matrix, bone itself, I'd have them take 15 glucogel capsules a day or 4 ounces of the liquid glucogel. And this is, again, the raw materials, the secret sauce, we call it, to support and promote maintenance repair. That's the magic word, repair, of cartilage, ligaments, tendons, connective tissue, disc between the vertebrae, bone matrix, and bone itself. And doctors say you can't do this, and that's because they want to use you as an ATM machine. There's no law requiring a doctor to cure you, and there's a cure available. And so they choose to treat you with arthroscopic surgery, drugs, and then finally they say, there's nothing more we can do for you except joint replacement surgeries. Right. And I'm so glad that Sue decided to get the program rather than the surgery.
So is Sue.
Yeah.
So is Sue.
Now, I've seen your knee when it was really, really swollen, and it has not been like that. She actually missed 1 day because her knee was so swollen she couldn't come to work. But now she doesn't have that problem. So you're saying Healthy Start Pack, the glucogel, the EFAs. Did I cover it all? And the
EFAs are part of the Healthy Start Pack.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So it's the Healthy Start Pack and the glucogel will give you everything you need to do to support and promote maintenance and repair of cartilage, ligaments, tendons, connective tissue, disc between the vertebrae. And here's the deal. Joyce, give me 90 days. If I fail you, which is impossible, I've been doing this for 35 years and pretty much perfected the formulas. you can always get the surgery. But if you go to the surgery first, you can't always get uninfected, unsurgeried, unparalyzed, and undead.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Sue. Thank you
You're
so much
welcome.
for coming
Thank
over
you,
here.
Dr. Wallach.
Yeah, and thank you for the good work you do in sending out all of our products. When we're sending out less and less because more and more people are using Longevity. And you can do that by calling 855-252-TEAM, 855-252-TEAM. Go to powerourteam.com. Okay, thanks, Sue. Thank you so much for coming over. All right, let's go to Eugene in Indiana. Eugene in Indiana, you're on the air with Dr. Wallach. Your question or comment, please.
Okay. Excuse me. I've had more than one naturopathic doctor say some people have a gluten intolerance and it causes belly fat. But I'm not hearing, up till now, I haven't heard anybody say what gluten is, how it acts within the human body to cause either condition or any other unwanted condition.
Sure.
And I was going to ask you to explain that, but
Okay.
I think you've pretty well done that.
Okay, do you have any other questions for him?
Yeah. In spite of that, I still have a couple of questions. One about the belly fat and one about the glycemic property of wheat.
Okay. Okay. Well,
right.
well, let's stop there. That's 6 questions. So that's a mouthful. Well, first of all, gluten is the protein in wheat, barley, rye, and oats. And gluten, again, causes inflammation in your small intestine, your colon, and it looks like you've been eating poison ivy as salad. It's just really an ugly mess in there, and it gradually gets worse and worse and worse. You lose those little finger-like villi. You lose up to 85 to 90% of the absorptive surface of your intestine. The actual surface of the intestines becomes scar tissue, and so the only thing that will get through is water and sugar. And so it's not unusual for people who have malabsorption problems from gluten intolerance because the intestines have been so badly damaged that they'll be obese. And they will get this belly fat, again, the bread belly, grain belly, beer belly kind of thing. And so when you have that situation, you need to get on a gluten-free diet. And the grocery stores are full of gluten-free aisles. I have another book out, which I'm sure you can get on the Power Mall, called Hell's Kitchen. And we show you where gluten is a big, big problem here, plus that CD, serial killers. And it causes you to malabsorb things like minerals, calcium, zinc, copper, that kind of stuff, selenium. But also it allows you to absorb fluids and also allows you to absorb calories, particularly sugar and carbohydrate calories. And so it's not unusual when somebody has a gluten intolerance to be obese. You say, well, if I'm not absorbing stuff, how come I'm 100 pounds overweight? That's because you're able to absorb sugar and carbohydrates, but you're not able to absorb efficiently much of anything else. Okay?
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And so when you get on a gluten-free diet and you take the Healthy Start Pack appropriate for your body weight, and then you throw in the ASAP, you will lose that belly fat within a month or 2. I mean, it is gone. It specifically redirects your body to burn belly fat preferentially. And so it's an amazing thing how flat your belly becomes. You lose measurements very quickly around the belly.
Okay. All right. And thank you very much, Eugene, for the phone call. I got to move on. The lines are slammed. Let's go to Victor in Georgia. Victor, you're on the air. Go ahead, please, with Dr. Wallach.
How you doing, everybody? I have a quick question and a quick background. My wife, when she was pregnant with our first daughter, she became preeclamptic and she had an infarction in her placenta.
Okay, now let's get to sort of the question because the history might go on too long. We got too many calls. So, what is your question?
Okay, well, she's pregnant again, and I was wondering what of the products you have could a pregnant woman be able to take?
Okay, well, let's stop there. That's the most important thing to me because we can prevent birth defects. How far along is your wife in pregnancy?
Only about 8 weeks.
Okay, well, that's one of the most important time. In that first 90 days, the first trimester, that's when the baby's forming. And what does your wife weigh?
Well, that's the thing. She's a little bit overweight now. She still hasn't lost the previous weight from the previous time.
Okay, what does she weigh?
183, and she's about 5'6".
Okay, so what I would do is I'm assuming she's taking a prenatal vitamin. I'm hoping she is. Uh-oh, that was too much silence there.
Yeah.
So what I would do is...
Yeah, she did. Yes, she is.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Okay, and so I would have her take one Healthy Start Pack per month, and that would mean that she's going to take a half a dose at breakfast, half a dose at dinner. That'll be 1 tablespoon of the OsteoFX Plus at breakfast and dinner, 1 scoop of the Beyond Tangerine NutriCrystals at breakfast and dinner, and the 3 EFA Pluses, she could have 1 each at each meal. 1 of these EFA Pluses at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and that 1 Healthy Start pack will deal with that. But if she plans on breastfeeding the baby, I would also have her get an extra quart after 3 months, after 90 days. I would have her get an extra quart of the OsteoFX Plus, so she can take full 2 ounces of the OsteoFX Plus a day, and then she might even move to a second Healthy Start pack, so she could take 2 Healthy Start packs per month instead of 1. But in the halfway through her first trimester here, I would have her take just 1 Healthy Start pack, and I would divide that up. And that way she's going to get maximum. If you count the number of nutrients in most prenatal vitamins, there's like 18 to 28, and she needs 90. The embryo needs 90, so it's going to be better for her to take the 90 essential nutrients than just a standard prenatal vitamin. They don't contain all 90.
Okay. All right. There you go. Thank you very much, Victor. Good question. Congratulations to you, and we want to hear some good news. Let's go to Brad in Louisiana. Brad, you're on the air. Go ahead, please, with Dr. Wallach.
Hi, Joyce. Hi, Dr.
There.
Wallach.
Hi.
You know how women can diagnose pregnancy with over-the-counter products?
Yes.
Have you ever considered the idea of marketing something for biofeedback? Because sometimes I wonder if I'm just not making expensive urine.
I don't quite understand what that question is, but go ahead, Dr. Wallach.
Okay. The question is, you're trying to ask how much of the nutrients you're retaining and how much you're urinating out?
Right. I know a color change. That's all I can describe. But I'd like to know, am I absorbing right? You know?
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. Well, here's how you're able to do that. A hair analysis is a good economical way to do that. And in the book, again, Rare Earths Bin Cures in Chapter 11, we teach you how to collect hair correctly and how to ship it and where to ship it to, and you get a complete computer layout of the analysis. I think it's like 32 minerals, and this gives you some really good clue. What you want to do, obviously, is start. You want to have one of these hair analyses to begin with, and then you take the program for 90 days, and then you get another hair analysis, and you see whether you're going up or down or whatever. If you have a gluten intolerance, what's very interesting, when you take your first hair analysis, if you're gluten intolerant and you haven't gotten on a gluten-free diet yet, all your minerals in your hair analysis will be below the minimum. It'll be just one flat line. It just seems like the bars have gone up and they're all stopped at the same place, which means you're malabsorbing all these minerals. And then you get on a gluten-free diet, you take the Healthy Start pack appropriate for your body weight, and in 90 days, suddenly now all these healthful minerals, these essential nutrients, are up into the mid-range or high normal of the next hair analysis. Now, also, on occasion, there's a wonderful study when you take these minerals and you have, let's say you have some lead stored in the fat in your body or in your bones, you have some extra mercury stored someplace in your liver, and you won't see much of it in your hair analysis. But in 90 days, you might see some of it show up because it's coming out of your tissues, because the selenium in these plant minerals are actually acting as a detoxifier. So it's getting it out of storage in your body, and you'll see some in your hair, and then another 90 days it'll be gone. So you get kind of a bell-shaped curve that are based on if you had any of these extra of these potentially toxic minerals stored in your body, they will go away. These minerals will actually detoxify you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Brad, for the phone call. Let's go to Chris in Florida. Chris, you're on the air with Dr. Wallach. Go ahead, please.
Hi, I have about 5 questions just on Beyond Tangy Tangerine.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Let's give maybe 2 because we got so many callers that want to talk to him.
Okay, well, what are the natural ingredients? And also, are the citric acid and maltodextrin, are they GMO derived?
Okay, all the ingredients are natural. We have no what you would call man-made ingredients in any of our products. I think probably there's some of the things like potassium sorbate is not that combination is not naturally occurring, but each potassium and sorbitol, sugar alcohol, are both naturally occurring. We just blend them together to get potassium sorbate as a preservative in some things. When you have hundreds of nutrients in one product, you have to have some preservatives in there, otherwise they react together. And it took us 5 years to come up with Beyond Tangy Tangerine to get 245 nutrients in the same bottle to work together and not destroy each other. It's a technology that actually is patented, and nobody else is going to be able to do that because we patented the process. It's kind of like very similar to the coffee crystal process. And then I apologize. What was the second question? GMO stuff? We go out of our way to make sure we have GMO-free stuff. But then, unfortunately, the genie's out of the bottle. Whoever, their little pea brains, they forgot about the wind blowing pollen all over the place. They forgot about bees and birds and rain and farmers' equipment carrying this pollen every place. If they thought genetically modified foods were going to stay in one field, they're out of their minds. It should have been in a triple airlock greenhouses.
Yeah,
everybody
that's
had
right.
to go through clean rooms with alkaline and acid showers and so forth to keep it all contained. But it's loose now. It'll take 25 to 50 years before we determine what good or what bad may have come out of this. We can guesstimate, we can predict, but to know for sure it's going to take time. But it's very difficult anymore to find anything that's grown out in the open air that hasn't been somehow impacted by
Yeah, that
GMO
is
stuff.
unfortunately the way it is. Thank you, Chris in Florida. Let's go to Sean in Texas. Sean, you're on the air with Dr. Wallach. Go ahead. Ooh, we're coming up against a break. Quickly, Sean.
It's Jerry in Texas.
Jerry in Texas? Okay, go ahead, please, Jerry.
Yes, thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I've been waiting. Listen, Dr. Wallach, I was looking at the label of the Tangy Tangerine. I'm concerned that in a 15-gram serving, you got 300 milligrams, about 2% of your plant minerals. I'm concerned that it looks to be like 85% of the ingredients is derived from things like petroleum-based or from lanolin.
Okay, stay right there. We'll be right back after this 3-minute break and get your response. Thank you very much, Jerry. We'll be right back. 53 minutes after the hour. Thank you so very much. Remember, tomorrow we're going to be talking to a former Black Panther. That's right, from years ago, spent 10 years in prison, and boy, does he have a story to tell. But we're talking today to Dr. Joel Wallach, and we are so appreciative of him spending 2 hours with us today. And we were just talking during the break that he will be coming to Kansas City area in the next month, so we'll let you all know about that so we can all attend that meeting. Now, the question, sort of an incendiary lobbed question that was asked was, does your product contain petroleum products? Your response to that, Dr. Wallach?
Well, he didn't ask that question. He said your product does contain all these petroleum-based products, and that's absolutely insane. We don't have any petroleum-based products. In fact, even our bottles are not plastic. They're actually fiberglass for a variety of reasons. Number one, we don't want any contact with petroleum. And also, because of the nature of these minerals, they would eat right through plastic. So you have to have either glass, and so these are kind of a glass composites, the same stuff they make private jet planes out of. It's a carbon composite.
Okay. So, but there is no petroleum products in
No
these
gasoline, only my gas tank.
Let's go to, I think it's Marcia in Tennessee. Marcia in Tennessee, you're on the air. Go ahead, please. And by the way, those of you who are working with the radio station in Tennessee, Dead Doctors Don't Lie, airs that there every day with Harry Grothjohn, so that's so cool. Okay, Marcia, go ahead, please. Marcia.
Good morning.
Morning.
My question is concerning, I have been diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa. I have complete blindness in my left eye. The right eye, I have partial blindness. Is there any other alternative treatment that can be recommended, or what are some of the things that I can do?
Okay.
No one else.
Absolutely. And this is kind of a cousin to macular degeneration. And macular degeneration, retinitis pigmentosa, wet and dry, macular degeneration, all these things are cousins, and they're caused by free radical damage to the retina of the eye. The retina of the eye has all these lipids, these really refined fats in the eye, and so they're very susceptible to free radical damage. So you got to give up fried foods, processed meats with nitrates, nitrites, no oils. It means no margarines, mayonnaise, salad dressings, cooking oils. If you eat canned fish, you got to be packed in water, not oil. And then What do you weigh here, Marcia?
Marcia, what do you weigh? We're trying to get the
200
dosage.
pounds.
Okay, 200. You have to have 2 Healthy Start packs per month. That's 1 ounce of the Osteovex Plus at breakfast and dinner, 2 scoops of the Tangy Tangerine twice a day, 3 of the EFA Pluses twice a day. All that will be done through this 2 Healthy Start packs per month. But I need you to take 9 of our Ultimate Selenium a day, 3 at breakfast, 3 at lunch, 3 at dinner. Get your ORIC points, your antioxidant points above 100,000 per day. And that would be done with 5 Cell Shield RTQ capsules twice a day. And all that combination together are going to support and promote maintenance and repair of the retina. It's going to help you eliminate the ceroid lipofuscin, which is the liver spot, age spot-like stuff that gets in your eye when you get retinitis pigmentosa. That's why it's called retinitis pigmentosa, because you get this golden color in your eye, kind of like liver spots and age spots, and it is eliminatable. When you eliminate it, vision comes back. It's an amazing thing.
All right, thank you very much for the phone call. And listeners, the book, Dead Doctors Don't Lie, the appendix is almost better than the book. I mean, I'm telling you, there's so much information. When do you see an appendix this good? It's got Bell's palsy, bipolar disorder, mitral valve prolapse, what to do for all these items, birth defects, Bell's palsy. It's all in Dead Doctors Don't Lie. Thank you so very much, Dr. Joel Wallach, for joining us today. Longevity, that is the answer for an awful lot of people. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today.
Hey, thank you, Joyce. You're the greatest. God bless you. Keep up the great work.
Good job. Love it. He gives out so much good information for so many. 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 So much good information for so many.